Hello and welcome back. Today, because we're all about what I'm noticing a trend in our little video slew here we got going on. We're abolishing negative constructs, basically. Because negative and positive all exist at the same time. Everything's on this balance of duality. That being said, that means that all these, let's say, challenging or unfavorable or previously labeled as a negative situation constructs can also be positive constructs, correct? Because if we're taught to look at our traumas, and yes, it was shitty, it was bad, we didn't deserve it, but the way to heal is to transmute that into what was the positive takeaway, then that means both negative and positive both exist inside of a situation or experience or anything. So it is possible to find the positive inside the negative. Not even inside, they live together. They live together at the same time. It is your choice, your gift of free will to look at which one you want to look at. Now, it gets a little hard when we get wrapped up in the opinions of others and what society deems as good or bad. Totally. And then we get totally scared about it too. And we're like, all right, you're right. That seems scary. I don't want that. Because whoever said you don't want that never really explained it. Because they never went through their own personal transmutation, which in turn kickstarts evolution for our whole collective. So that person missed the point. So today I want to talk about another typically labeled as negative construct, and I want us to transmute it today. And that construct is that of rock bottom. Now, scary, right? Because what does rock bottom mean? Rock bottom means you are at your lowest point that you could possibly reach. You are rock bottom, bedrock rubble. So you are at your lowest level. And that could be terrifying because personally, for my lowest level, my rock bottom, it looked like going hungry and a lot of other negative connotations that came with it. But inside of those adversities, I found opportunity. Inside of hunger, I found strength. So these constructs, this construct of rock bottom is yet again like the karmic debt construct. Another construct to kind of get our brains back into overcoming mode. Mode of operation of overcoming. So, because it's possible. We are given the gift of critical and complex thinking. You will not see a squirrel reflecting on his life at rock bottom. That doesn't happen. You're not going to see a raccoon doing it either. You're not going to see anybody else in the animal kingdom doing that. So why does it happen to us? Because we were given the gift of these brains. We were given the gift of self-awareness. We were given the gift of conscious, creative thought, where we don't just stay within the bounds of what we know, we constantly try to push out of those bounds. That is on purpose. That is our purpose as a species, to constantly push to learn and to grow. Starting with trying to understand the inner world, right? You can't conceptualize your outer world until you understand your inner world. So we're pushed to do that. We're pushed to reflect. We're pushed to utilize other people as a mirror to learn more about ourselves, to introspect and see what we need to let go of, what maybe our perspective is correct or incorrect, or a truth or a personal truth. We are a complex, multidimensional beings. So we need these constructs. We need these situations to help nudge us into the direction that is evolutionary change, that is utilizing our brains to the fullest of their capacity, which we don't always do because we want to be comfy. We want to be able to kind of just like coast, get to a point and just live like the squirrel, We're always got to just get your nuts, spare your nuts, build your little house, make little squirrel babies, and like never think about anything else. But that's not our species. That's not what our species is meant for. We are meant to seek adversity because within adversity is opportunity. We are meant to push our brains outside the bounds of what is visually tangible to us and exceed into thoughts of the unseen, the subtle energy, the frequency vibrations, the science of the laws of attraction. Like, we are built to try and understand that, to bring us closer to the overall source, the overall concept, the big picture. And that's why we were created. It's a new revolution. It's a new evolution to understand the universe better through ourselves, which is understanding ourselves and our personal universe. So back to rock bottom and why this is a positive thing. Ain't gonna feel positive. But let me tell you what happened, why you found yourself in rock bottom. Because you never met your soul. And maybe you have, but you didn't consider it important enough to integrate into how you build your lifestyle. So, what does that mean? Why do we meet our souls at rock bottom? Because you are stripped. You are bare bones. You are raw. You are so naked at rock bottom. And you have no one else down there but you and your soul. Well, the soul is you, and then your mechanical operating system. So you get to then you get the gift of differentiating what is soul, what is truth, what is authentic, and what is my computer operating system. Because you need to see those two things as two separate things, because they are. Your soul is your soul. Your computer operating system, which is your trained brain with old programs or programs you even installed that you think are good, but you never trial and error maybe figured it out. So this is the programmable thing. And if you start to believe you are your brain, you'll create a reality off of those programs, outdated or not. It don't matter, because you don't know. You have no attachment to your own soul. You don't even know that you're putting out this program that's supporting a program that needs to be programmed. Who's programming the program? Who's building programs? You see what I'm saying? And we forget this. We forget that we are the observers of our mind. And if we're going to keep running down the hallway of life away from our soul, which is counteractive to our point as a species for evolutionary change with complex thinking and seeking opportunity inside of adversity, universe, nature, the laws of nature are not going to allow that. Enter rock bottom. Because we can't make the species fail. If you're not using your brain the way your brain's supposed to be used, it's going to fall in on itself and in turn extinct the species. We're already heading there. Because there's a lot of computer programs running around out here convinced they are the program. And that they have to keep operating within the system of the program for success. But the success is only valid to the program, not to the authentic soul. So does it actually matter? Right. And that's the slow decline of our species. Because we forgot what matters. We forgot what's important. We forgot what our only job is here. Figure out self, which then helps figure out the unseen universe, which then projects us into research, study, development, understanding. Self-mastery equals understanding of other things. So, If you're not using your brain, as a program that it is, and you are accepting the program as who you are, you're going to have a rock bottom moment. And also, this is another thing that just ahaed to me. You might not, if you weren't chosen for the evolutionary change of the species. And if that's the case, you're probably not watching this video anyway. So, that being said, for those of you watching, if you're too complacent, you're too comfy, and you ain't critically thinking, and you're not figuring yourself out, you will eventually hit a rock bottom moment because nature wants you to evolve. But to evolve, you need to almost like devolve, like back up, strip away what you think is success, and stare into the eyes of who is the observer of your programmable mind. Because that's who you are. And if you forgot who you are, rock bottom's a freaking blessing. That's a gift. It's a gift. I am grateful for that gift every day. Every day. I take, oh man, I can't even explain how I've changed from before rock bottom and after. I guess for one, I'll tell you, not a lot of crap bothers me anymore. I'll just walk away from it because you stop trying to prove your worth to like the world and yourself once you're in rock bottom. Because once you meet your soul, you realize there is no point to proving your worth because you're already worth everything because your soul is beautiful. You see what I mean? Like, this is why rock bottom's a gift. We need to abolish certain constructs that we've built in a negative way. And seeing these things as the gifts that they are so that we don't die out as a species. I have some notes. Let me see if I covered all my notes. Yeah. All right. Another reason you can go into rock bottom is because you're not fueling your soul. Now, in rock bottom is when I came up with this quote of fuel your vibe. Fuel your energy vibration. Fuel that. Because it's not the same fuel. Soul food fuel is not the same as like, I don't even know how to explain it because I don't consider anything else fuel for the body. Unless it's good for your soul, why are you putting it in there? Why are you watching it? Why are you listening to it? Why are you doing anything if it ain't good for your soul? So that's another thing why rock bottom exists, so that you recognize you are not fueling your vibe. You're fueling your ego. You're fueling your materialistic success. You're fueling the idea, the concept of what you've created in life. You're fueling your personal truth, not the truth, but the personal truth. You're fueling the wrong things. So rock bottom strips you raw so that you can see that the only thing you actually need to fuel is your soul, your vibrational frequency, which comes from that understanding subtle messages from your emotions. And then in turn, you need to learn emotional regulation. And it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that these things were that important. They are the only thing of importance. Another time you'll hit rock bottom if you run from a scenario of trauma. You don't heal that trauma, but then you just create a life that's the same as this, but without the trauma, to try and like heal the trauma by like creating a rosy colored whatever, like running to create something based off of a trauma or a previous situation is also not fueling your vibe. You're fueling your fear. Isn't that crazy? Like I didn't know any of this until sitting in rock bottom. It was crazy how many things came to me at that time. My mind was blown and my eyes were freaking open from that point on. So another thing that rock bottom does for you is shows you your own hand in how you're not creating the life that supports your soul. That's another thing. That's why you got to go meet your soul at rock bottom so that you can strip down and dismantle the infrastructure and create another infrastructure where there's a seat for your soul. Like you didn't, when you were building the building schematics, you didn't put down, this is the soul seat. You left him out. So this part of your life, you're now going to incorporate that fueling of your energy vibration, your soul, keeping that consciousness, a conscious awareness of your soul, that you are your soul, the observer of your mind. And you will then rebuild your life integrated. And now when you do this and you crawl out of rock bottom, everything kind of calms down for you internally. Don't ask me the science behind that. I mean, I know the science. If we really divulged, I'm sure we could. But that's not the point of this episode. The point is just know. You get real chill. And you become a person who stops trying to save everyone too. That doesn't mean you don't try and help. But your way of doing it changes. Because now you've got soul integration. So you're you now. You're authentic you. And you're now recognizing that if you can learn this skill, anyone can learn this skill. So you go from being the person who runs around putting on people's life jackets for them while they're screaming and panicking, leaving yourself to the end, which in turn, by that point, you're probably going to get pulled under and drowned by panicking people. You go from that person to the person who puts on their life vest, clips up the belt, and then says to all the panicking people, hey guys, that's where the life jackets are. Hey, everyone calm down. That's where the life jackets are. Go get the life jackets. Hey, they're over here. Because that's how we help humanity. I know the whole saying is usually like teach a man how to fish, but like if the dude's gonna constantly tell me that the fishing pole's hot and he can't hold it, like we have a lot of that going on, right? I'm not accusing everyone, but there's just some shit like that going on. Maybe this fishing pole sat in the sun too long, and he's like, "Oh my god, it's hot." It's not hot. It was just in the sun. Like, if you're just committed to failing, if you're committed to not evolving your brain, Darwinism will take care of those people. Like, I'm sorry to be like that, but I'm also not, because like it's our point. Use your brain. Everyone has the potential and the capacity to use their brain. And it doesn't help anyone doing shit for people. It just doesn't. It doesn't, because they're not paying attention. They're not investing. They're not planting the seed. They haven't even met their own soul yet. They might need their own rock bottom, and you're getting in the frickin' way. This is evolution, guys. This is the salvation of our souls and evolution of our species. Like, it's more important than just trying to feel like a good person by saving people. Feel like a good person by helping an elderly lady out to her car with her groceries. Okay? Don't jump into everybody's cesspool and try to put life jackets on them. First of all, why are they in the cesspool and you're not? Because they chose to be. Sorry, I just got a little tangent there. So, you become a different person after rock bottom because you've met your soul. And you also recognize your own empowerment to then dig out of that hole. And once you dig out of that hole, here's an image for you. I'm sure this is a meme somewhere too. There's two people sitting in a hole. One just sitting there like this, crying. The other one has taken all their clothes off and made a rope and is trying to climb out of the hole. That's what you need. That's what I'm talking about. In the face of adversity, there's always opportunity, and it pushes your mind to seeing more solutions than the ones that are already programmed. That's the point. We're not supposed to just maintain the one program. We got to evolve. We got to level up our programming. So we're given these opportunities to think like that. Oh, I should take all the clothes on my back and make a rope. Or instead of using the wood to make a fire for temporary comfort, I'm going to build a ladder. Do you see what I'm talking about? Our brains need this development. Our brains need this opportunity for evolution, personal evolution. And that's why I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad if I point to where the life jackets are and someone tells me, oh, must be nice. You already have your life jacket on. I don't feel bad anymore walking away from a person like that. That is insanity to me. And you need rock bottom moment, and I'm not going to be the one to induce it because I'm not God. I'm not the universe. I'm not the overall power of everything. So what is little old me going to do trying to argue with you about that statement? Well, yes, I already have my life jacket on because I maintained calm and emotional regulation inside of this chaos, while the rest of you let your programs run wild, and I went and got a life jacket. I don't need to be doing those conversations with people anymore. Right? Neither do you. Okay? I even had someone ask me one time, why didn't I further help somebody when they were drowning? And I'm like, how many times do I have to get kicked in the face trying to help that person onto the lifeboat? I'm not doing that. Learn how to build the gosh darn ladder, home dog. Learn how to clip on your freaking life vest. Right. It's not a privilege that I have common sense. It's rock bottom. It's created. I didn't have it before. I probably would have been panicking too. But I was chosen. I was chosen for evolutionary change. I was chosen to expand my mind and critically think. I was chosen to see the opportunity inside of adversity. I was chosen for the task of learning self and regulating emotions, maintaining calm and observing in a situation that could be chaotic. I needed discernment. I needed to learn these things. So did you. You know what I mean? If you get what I'm saying? That's why it's not a punishment. It's like you were chosen to be downloaded with the new program because the whole system is upgrading. And those who can't figure out where the life jackets are, they're not making it. In some way or another, they're not making it. The more challenge that you have, the more adversity you have, I believe, the better off you are because you're on the track towards whatever we're heading to as a species. And we get so afraid of this evolution because we get so afraid of change. But what's the only constant in life? Change. And we talked about that yesterday, how people during the beginning of COVID were like, it's going to be back to normal in a couple months. Don't you worry about it. First of all, it doesn't matter how long it would be. Months, a week, it doesn't matter. It was years, but it didn't matter. The same change was induced in us all. Because we were faced with adversity. We had to overcome, adapt, and find opportunity. You're never going back. Anything that happens sets you off into a trajectory of going forward. Never back. You're never returning to something. You're never going to become the person that you were before trauma. You're never going to be the person you were before rock bottom. Thank God. Hallelujah. You know what I'm saying? So whenever you feel like it's getting tough, remember that. You were chosen. You should be grateful. I know it's hard. I know. But the first animal species to, let's say, okay, this is dramatized, right? But like, just imagine the first creature, and he sprouts an extra like appendage, and he's like, why the heck do I need this thing? It's just in the way. None of the food that we eat needs it. I don't need it for this. I don't need it for that. I don't need it for how life is already built. Okay, then it must be for a life that's not built. Build it, because that's how you evolve. So what if us self-mastering ourselves is us just building the next stage of evolution for all of mankind? That animal had to learn to deal with it, but actually it was nature pushing that animal to further discovery. Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh, so badass. It's so empowering. Like, yeah, I was chosen. Meanwhile, I'm like sobbing in a corner, like, but I was chosen. It's like, right, but yes, it's gonna be hard because you're not meant for now. You're meant to usher in the next now. You're the transitional organism with extra appendages, all right? You don't know why you got them yet, but it ain't working in the construct that's already here. So you got to build a new one so that it fits your life, your new appendage having species life. Because we're not going back. You're not going back. It's only forward from now. Because that is the only way we induce evolutionary change, is that of through adversity. No more food in the ocean. I'm not sure what drove the first creatures to land, but let's just say they ran out of whatever they needed there, and they had to start thinking about exploring other avenues. And you're pushed into an evolutionary state out of discomfort, out of adversity, out of loss and grief and suffering. So what if your major suffering is only that of evolution? And when we start to accept this evolution and accept that we're on our way to something better, or just more evolved, then we stop holding ourselves. We stop hanging out in the water with limbs. We're like, I don't know what to do with these things yet, but I'm too scared to get out of the water. Right? Because everything is about fear. It's a fear. That's what we do. We accidentally do that with human condition. Everything's scary. But like, you got limbs for a reason. Get out of there. Even though the water was your comfy zone, you were sprouted these appendages for a reason. You were given this adversity for a reason. You don't belong in the water anymore. Get out. So maybe you just don't belong where you are anymore, and that's okay. And what if a lot of us who don't feel at home here in this society, because we're meant to usher in the change of the next society, the newest society, but how do you do that? You fully immerse in your authentic nature, you accept it, and you live it loud and proud. Who cares? Stop comparing to your neighbor or the other guy or whatever. They're Darwinism. They're getting weeded out. You were chosen. Keep going. Isn't that crazy to think? But that's how evolution works. That's how we overcome. That's how we adapt. That's how we move on. So, is it a curse, what you're going through right now? Or is it a secret blessing? Because you've been chosen. You're not going to get Darwined out. We ain't going to find your fossil amongst all the other humans who didn't level up. And we're going to be like, wow, look at this. Look at this, man. We haven't seen a brain cavity this size in a long time. Because we're meant to push the bounds. We're meant to keep evolving. Once you stop learning, you start dying. Albert Einstein quote. So what are we doing with not learning? Why are we just maintaining? Keep seeking self-discovery. Keep figuring new things out. Keep figuring out new structures and routines that work for you. And then, once you're mastering that and you're feeling good, then you're going to be like, let me see what else I can do. Let me, because I have ultimate unlimited power. Let me see what else I can do. And then you start to think of things like the life jacket situation. You're like, how can I let more people know that the life jackets are over there without like going over there and putting life jackets on people? How do I reach more people by doing less? Because that's also evolution, right? Work smarter, not harder. And then you're opened up to another avenue of being. Isn't that great? And it's all aligned with your soul, which you met in rock bottom, because you forgot. You forgot that you are the soul, you are not the mind. So now you get to reprogram your mind the way you want to create the reality that supports your soul authentically. And then you're unstoppable. Don't matter what mental challenge you have or not. It doesn't matter, because once you figure out how to adapt that and create a new lifestyle that supports it, hugs it, loves it, you've enacted evolutionary change for all of humanity. It is that deep. It is that deep, friends. No pressure, but like all the pressure. And that's why upon this awareness, right? If you're watching this channel, upon this awareness, what do you do to avoid rock bottom? You become aware of the fact that you are a program, or your mind is a program and you are your soul. You become aware of this now. Start planting that seed now and start having moments of stillness where you carve out 10 minutes out of your day to just be like, interesting. What else, soul? Like, what else about you? What else can I learn about you? Start initiating that on your own if you feel lost and confused and you're gearing up for rock bottom, Like, we can do this in increments. The rock bottom initiation is a construct because you've gone too far. You're already about to fold in and become not useful for the whole purpose of our nature and evolutionary change. That's not allowed to happen. You see what I'm saying? Like, upon watching this video, you can totally go and do little increment practices that get you to know your soul better and how to fuel that vibration, how to fuel your vibe, I teach that a lot because rock bottom is the construct that happens when you go too far, when you ignore it for too long. And I think my personal goal is not to have people avoid that, but I want to teach that you can start doing it in a more controlled setting. Yeah, you're still going to dismantle your infrastructure. You're still going to have to redo a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's still going to be hard, challenging work. But your tailbone doesn't hurt as much. If that's like the analogy I'm thinking of. Because when you hit rock bottom, you fall and you get hurt, And you're already hurt enough. Like, that's why we're even having this conversation. You're already hurt enough. So there are ways we can work through it. Some people, though, need that. They need the V8 bop. I did. I really thought everything I was doing was A-okay. And let me tell you, it was not. And it's pretty freaking obvious that it wasn't. But that's what I'm saying. When you've got a program in here that's outdated, it's up to you and your soul to eradicate it and install a new program. Because you're not going to see it. You don't see it if you're living as the program. You need to become the observer of the program. Damn, I was just the program. That's hilarious to think about because, like, looking at it, like, obviously all of the things I was doing was wrong. But old program. Victimhood program. The victim program doesn't work for me. I didn't get extra gifts. I didn't get extra support, So that program had to be dismantled too. Yeah, it's like the difference between like knowing that it's time for your computer to get a new program and like going and buying the things that you need or setting it up so that you can install it versus realizing the entire operating system, the entire motherboard was set up incorrectly. And you just have to scratch it and start from the beginning. That was me. I think there's like ranges and spectrums of rock bottom, because I think there's also a time where you can take all the pieces out of your motherboard and figure out how to rearrange them to make it work. Maybe you have all the right pieces, you just don't have them in the right order. I had none of the right pieces, so it didn't matter where I put them in a different order. It still wasn't going to operate in alignment with my authentic soul, as well as the flow of the universe, the law of attraction, the laws. So it's a beautiful construct, just like the karmic debt one, meant for us to find that empowerment, that sense of overcoming, that confidence, really, that empowerment, to meet your soul like that, and to become humble and integrated and not feel like you're all over the place all the time, doing things all the time. You become the person that's already got their life vest on, and you're just like, it's over there, and you're real calm about it. Like, it's all right. I've seen scary. This isn't it. So we're okay. And I think that's a part of what we need for our development right now. We talked about this yesterday. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men. And nature's not going to let us phase out. I mean, it will eventually if we keep not doing this. We have to keep pushing. We have to keep evolving. We are still grappling with the same challenges as stuff written in the Bible. That's a little scary for us as a species. We should be a little bit more far than that with our morals and our values and the understanding of the universe, but we're not, because we got tricked into thinking we are the program. You're not the program, you're the soul. You're the observer of the program. So, and if you're not remembering that, don't worry, nature will give you an opportunity to sit alone with your soul. And when you see that, when you start to feel like everything in your life is falling apart, I want you to get excited, because now it's time to meet your soul. And then we'll build it back from there. Don't worry. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Because in the face of adversity is always opportunity. It's always opportunity. Right? You got a scientist doing a bunch of experiments. Fail. But once he fails, he recognizes that this didn't work in that slot. So the next time, we're going to try this. And then the next time he fails, but not as bad. So, okay, so maybe it's a green stone, but maybe it's not this green stone. Maybe it's this one. So now we're getting closer to the answer. You see? Do you see why it's so important? In the face of failure, get excited. Because you're getting closer to the actual answer. You're getting closer to the finality, the totality. You're getting closer to that invention, the evolutionary change. Everything's great. I'm just saying. It's hard when you're in the moment, I know. But that's why it's also important to reflect back and see what good came from the challenges of your life. To keep reminding you and keeping you in this state of remembering the overall big picture. As we're headed towards this evolutionary change. And that it's not a punishment. It's beautiful. You were chosen. Yay. I know it's hard, but it's okay. We're going to build the life that's on its way in the future of our evolution as a species, but we're going to build it right now. Because how do you manifest something? You embody the energy as if you already have it. So, if we're on our way to evolutionary change, but you're suffering right now, you're struggling, we need to remember the overall goal, but also, I forgot what I was going to say. Damn it. If you're struggling and you're suffering right now, right, embody the future that accepts all of you. What's that look like? What does your future look like? What lifestyle does it look like? Where you live? What are you doing for a job? What does that lifestyle look like when it's supporting you authentically? Accepting all of you, the struggles, mental health challenges, everything. Being with what we said, the whole concept of today's episode, and that you're meant for this evolutionary change. Maybe you don't fit in here, but it's for the transition, right? So you need to embody that there's a future out there that exists, that's built around the full totality of acceptance of who you are. You need to believe it so that you can embody that future now and then become in alignment with your authentic self. And then you start to create that reality. You're great. What does your life need to look like now that you've met your soul? How do you fuel that soul? How do you fuel that vibe? How do you keep your energy vibration fueled? Now, what is your future going to look like? Keeping all of that in mind. And guess what? Your imagination, if you can imagine it, you can do it. Why? Because we can't imagine something that doesn't exist. We're not God. We can't create from nothing. We create from what's already here. The concepts and structures that are already here. So if you can imagine it, that means you could create it. So go ahead. Visualize that future. Get excited with it. Make a poster board about it. Bring it into reality through journaling. Write it down. Draw a picture. And embody that full totality of acceptance of who you are right now. And watch that revolutionize your entire way of being and how your healing journey looks from this point on. Awesome. Thanks, guys. This has been great. I'm enjoying doing these with you. Hope you have a great day. And I'll see you tomorrow.